Welcome, my friends. In this video, I'll be discussing section 8.3, summarizing paired data. Paired data involves drawing two dependent or paired samples. Before and after data naturally create dependent samples. We can calculate statistics based on the paired differences, where the paired difference is represented by x sub d, which is equal to x sub 1 minus x sub 2. For example, let's assume that we are collecting data related to pre- and post-test scores. X sub d would be the difference between the two scores. So we have 64 minus 60, which is equal to 4, 87 minus 4 is equal to 3, etc., all the way down. It's important to note that the pre- and post-test scores each relate to the same individual. So person number 1 scored a 60 on the pretest and a 64 on the post-test. Person number 2 scored an 84 on the pretest and 87 on the post-test, etc. Each of the differences represents the improvement for the student. So 4 represents that this student scored 4 units higher on the post-test compared to the pretest. We can calculate statistics based on the paired differences. X sub bar d, for example, is the mean of the difference column, which is equal to 3. S sub d is the standard deviation of the difference column, which ends up being 2. In general, anything that has a subscript d is referring to the difference data. Let's take a look at an example. Students in a class were asked to chew 2 different brands of gum on 2 separate days, and they reported how many seconds they believed it took for the gum to lose its flavor. So here we have all the students, 1 through 13. We have the time that they reported it took for brand A to lose its flavor, the time they reported it took for brand B to lose its flavor, and then we have the differences between those, which is taking the brand A time and subtracting the brand B time. Anytime the paired difference, x sub d, is greater than 0, that means that the student thought that brand A lasted longer than brand B by whichever number is in this column. For example, for student number 1, the brand A time was 424 seconds, and the brand B time was 286 seconds. So the difference between those is representing how much larger the brand A time is compared to the brand B time. Whenever x sub d is less than 0, that student thought that brand A lasted shorter than brand B. So for example, student number 3 had 311 for brand A and 994 for brand B, so the difference is negative 683, representing that they thought that brand A lasted 683 seconds less than brand B. Note that we could have done x sub d is equal to x sub 2 minus x sub 1, in which case the above two statements would be reversed. So we would be taking the brand B times and subtracting the brand A times, and all the values would be switched in terms of their signs. If x sub d is equal to 0, then that would mean that the student believes that the brand A and brand B times would be exactly the same. We didn't have any examples of that in here, but if we had a 0 over here, that would basically just mean that student didn't think there was any difference in the time that that gum lasted in terms of its flavor. We can calculate statistics based on the x sub d column, and I'm going to show you how to do that now using the TI-84 calculator. So if we go to the Stat menu and we go to Edit, we can go ahead and clear out the first 3 lists. And you can do that by hovering over each list, pressing the clear key and the down arrow. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in the brand A and brand B times into the first 2 lists. Brand B. Okay, so I highly encourage that you pause the video and you type those in if you don't have those in at this point. Now we could go ahead and just type in the difference into the third list, but in most cases you will not be given the difference and you will have to calculate it yourself. So instead of doing it manually by manually just typing in the difference of each of these and finding all these numbers, that would be pretty time consuming. We can have a little bit of a shortcut for this. So if we go up on top of list 3, you can't be down here. You have to be on top of list 3. So let's go so that we're hovering over list 3. And then press second, L1. So second 1 gives us L1. You'll see it's showing up right here. Minus second 2, L2. And then when we press enter, it should calculate all of those differences that are in the third column. So it can save you a little bit of time. Then from there, we can go to stat, arrow to calculate, and then we can run 1var stats on this data. So 1var stats, and we're going to want to make sure we change the list to the x sub d list. So that's going to be second 3 for list 3. Go ahead and calculate, and we will get these answers here, which should match what we have in the PowerPoint. So we have a sample size of 13. That's what we had. The minimum, if we scroll, actually we can see it right here, is 683. The maximum, if we scroll down, is 778. X bar is 384.4 approximately. And the standard deviation, S, is 448.45, rounding to 448.5. Note that the calculator just gives you X bar and S, but they really should be subscript with the D to represent that they are based on the difference data. The calculator has no way of knowing that this data set relates to difference data. Okay, we can summarize X sub D with graphical displays like histograms and box plots. So if I grab my calculator again, I've already got all these numbers in here, so I could go ahead and go to second y equals to get into the plot. Press enter to go into plot 1. Make sure I got plot 1 selected as on, and then I can change this to whatever I want. So let's change this to a box plot. Make sure it says list 1, and then I can press zoom, or I might have to do second quit first, but on this one I can do zoom and then 9, and then I can get a picture of a box plot. Now actually, I think I didn't change this to list 3. I'm going to want to change this to list 3. So second 3 to change the list to list 3. And now if I go to zoom 9, yes, I will see my box plot. So now we can see the this is representing 0, and we have looks like one outlier kind of here on the side. I could also go ahead and go back in here, second y equals, and I could change this to a histogram as well. And I could go to zoom 9, and we could see what that looks like as well. So looking a little bit left skewed. And here I have better pictures of those using technology, or actually these are just the ones that were reported in the textbook. Okay, so we can summarize this information using some graphical displays. So we can see that most of the values of the difference are positive. And remember, positive for our example meant that students thought that the brand A time lasted longer than the brand B time. We can see that most easily in the histogram. Also, you can see that most of the box is above 0. We just have a few outliers that are down here. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video related to summarizing paired differences. In the next video, we will talk about a hypothesis test on paired data called the paired t-test.